Good evening, class. Welcome to my class in Assessment in Learning 1. And to formally start our discussion, I would like to call a volunteer for our opening prayer. Okay, yes, Miss Sabalia, lead us the opening prayer. Okay, let's pray in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen and amen. Okay, good morning once again. Okay, good morning. You may now take your seat. Okay, who are absent today? Okay, can you please take a screenshot Miss Matako for our attendance for today's meeting? Okay, thank you very much. Now, before we proceed with our discussion, I just want to remind you with our virtual classroom rules. So the first one is be on time, meaning that students who are 15 minutes late are considered absent. Act like act like you are at school. Sit in one spot during class. Keep yourself muted unless upon instructed by your teacher. Turn on your video. Raise your hand to talk. Listen. No eating during class and have fun and do your best. Now, let us have a short review or recap about what we have discussed last meeting. Okay, anyone who would like to share his or her learnings about what we have discussed last meeting? Okay, yes, Miss Sigisabal. Okay, that's right. We are talking about or discussing about the packaging and reproducing test item as well as the guidelines before, during, and after administering test item. Now, what is or are the importance of following the steps and guidelines in packaging and reproducing test items? Okay, yes, Miss Sabalia. Yes, thank you very much. That's right. That is very important because it can greatly affect the learner. How about the guidelines before, during, and after administering the test? Okay, yes, Miss Adukal. Okay, exactly. This is important also to um, know what are the things that the student need to do before, during, and after administering the test item. Now, I have prepared here an activity for you. I have prepared four scrambled letters, and this activity is entitled spelling word scramble. Okay, the only thing that you need to do is you need to arrange the scrambled letters into the correct word. And right after arranging these words, you are expected to choose at least one word, then explain it based on your prior knowledge. Okay, let's start with this word. Okay, what word is this? This is, yes, that's right, it is difficulty index. How about this one? Anyone? Okay, this is discrimination index. How about this one? The third one. Yes, that's right. It is item analysis. And how about this one? It is, yes, that's right. It is destructor analysis. Now you are going to choose one word and explain it based on your prior knowledge. Okay, who would like to give his or her prior knowledge about these words? Okay, who would like to begin? Who would like to start to share his or her prior knowledge about these words? Okay, yes, Miss Matako. Okay, thank you. How about the others? Yes, Miss Evangelio. Okay, that's right. Okay, how about the others? Yes, Miss Sanchez? Okay, exactly. So all the words or sentences that you are saying and you are sharing are correct and you are doing a good job. Now, what do you think the importance of these words or the given words? So, do you have an examination that you got a high score? Do you have an examination that you got low score? And what do you think are the reasons why you got higher score? How about lower score? Now, that are the things that we are going to discuss and explore in this moment. And that is our topic for today, the analyzing the test. Okay, let's read our learning outcomes. So at the end of the lesson, the students can first define the basic concepts regarding item analysis, identify the steps in improving test items. 3. Solve difficulty index and discrimination index. 4th, identify the level of difficulty of an item. 5th is to perform item analysis properly and correctly. And 6, identify the item to be rejected, revised, or retained. And last, interpret the results of item analysis. Now let's go with our topic for today, which is the analyzing the test. So one of the most important thing that a teacher do after making, administering, and scoring the test is analyzing the quality of each item in the test. So why it is very important that after the teacher doing the test item, administering, and scoring the test item, why it's very important to analyze the quality of each item. So it is important because through this, the teacher can identify whether the item is good, needs an improvement, or items to be removed or rejected. So let's go with item analysis. So what is item analysis? When we say item analysis, it is a process of examining the student's response to individual item in the test. It consists of different procedures for assessing the quality of the test items given to the student, meaning it undergo process and procedures as well as steps to assess the quality of the test item given to the student. So it is important to analyze the item because through this we can identify which of the given are good and which are defective. Now, what are the purpose of item analysis? So there are five purpose of item analysis. The first one is provide a basis for constructing test bank. Second, provide a basis for remedial work. For third, provide a basis for general improvement of classroom instruction. Fourth, provide a basis for efficient class discussion of the test results. And the last one, provide a basis for increased skills in test construction. So that are the purposes of item analysis. Now, the item analysis has two types. So the first one is what we call qualitative analysis. A qualitative analysis is a process in which the teacher or expert carefully proofreads the test before it is administered to check if there are typographical errors, to avoid grammatical clues that may lead to giving away correct answer, and to ensure that the level of reading material is appropriate. So this procedure can also include small group discussions on the quality of the examination in its items. So with the examinees that have already took the test. Now, according to Cohen, Swerdlek, and Smith of 1992, students who took the examination are asked to express verbally their experience in answering each items in the examination. Because through this, it can help the teacher in determining whether the test takers misunderstood a certain item, and it can help them in determining why they misunderstood a certain item. So what that is, item or the qualitative analysis. Now the second type of item analysis is what we call quantitative analysis. A quantitative analysis, it is a statistical analysis for the responses test takers gave to individual items. Quantitative analysis happens after the items have been administered and scored, meaning that this process happened after administering and scoring the test. The student responses and item scores provide numeric data that is reviewed for clues about the quality of educational information produced by each item. So in qualitative analysis, it has three types. The first one is what we call difficulty index. So when we say difficulty index, it refers to the proportion of the number of students in the upper group and lower group who answered an item correctly. And the larger the proportion, the more students who have learned the subject is measured by the item. So in getting the difficulty index, we need to use this formula. D sub x is equal to lowercase n divided by the uppercase n, where D sub f is the difficulty index and the lowercase n is the number of students selecting item correctly in the upper group and in the lower group. So it is the total number of students who answer the item correctly, and for uppercase n, it is the total of students who answered the test. So you need to memorize this formula so that and use this formula so that we were able to find the difficulty index of an item. Now, after you solve the difficulty index of that item, we also need to define the level of difficulty of the item based on the result of the difficulty index. Now, if the difficulty index is ranging from 0 to 0.2, meaning that difficulty level of that item is very difficult. Now, if it is ranging from 0.21 to 0.40, the difficulty level is difficult. And if it's ranging from 0.41 to 0.60, the level of difficulty of that item is average or moderately difficult. And if it is ranging from 0.61 to 0.80, it means that the level of difficulty of that item is easy. And it is very easy once the difficulty index is ranging from 0.81 to 1. So we need to also know the different index range as well as the difficulty level so that we were able to get the level of difficulty of that particular item. Now, the higher the value of difficulty, the easier the item is. So as you have observed that in if the item is very easy, it is ranging from 0.81 to 1. And the acceptable difficulty index ranges from 0.41 to 0.60 or moderately only. So 0.41 to 0.60 is the only acceptable difficulty index. Now let's proceed to the second type of this quantitative analysis, which is the discrimination index. So when we say discrimination index, it is the power of the item to discriminate the student between those who scored high and those who scored low in the overall test. It is the basis of measuring the validity of an item. So this index can be interpreted as an indication of the extent to which overall knowledge of the content area or mastery of the skills is related to the response of an item. So that is discrimination index. So in discrimination index, it has three types. So the first one is what we call the positive discrimination index. Positive discrimination index happened when more students in the upper group got the item correctly than those who students in the lower group. Meaning that if the student who got the higher score, or the student from the upper group got the higher score than the lower group, so it is called positive discrimination index. Now if the student is if there are more students from the lower group got the item correctly than those in the upper group, it is now called negative discrimination index. And for the third one, it is called zero discrimination index, meaning the upper group and the lower group who answer the test correctly are equal. So meaning they have equal score. Hence, the test item cannot distinguish the students who perform in the overall test and the student whose performance are very poor. So that are the three types of discrimination index: the positive discrimination index, the negative discrimination index, and the zero discrimination index. Now, we also need to know the level of discrimination of that item. Now, if the discrimination level of that item is ranging from 0.19 and below, its discrimination level is poor item and it should be eliminated or need to be revised. Now, if the discrimination level of that item is ranging from 0.20 to 0.29, meaning that the discrimination level of that item is marginal and it needs some revision. And if it's ranging from 0.30 to 0.39, it is reasonably good item but possibly for improvement. And if it's ranging from 0.40 and above, meaning the discrimination level of that item is very good. If the discrimination index is negative, that means that the item is automatically rejected regardless of its level of difficulty, because the only acceptable discrimination index is from 0.20 to 1. Now, to compute the discrimination index of an item, we also have to use this formula. D sub 1 is equal to C sub UG minus C sub LG divided by D, where D sub 1 is the discrimination index value and the C UG is the number of students selecting the correct in the upper group, and the CLG is the number of students selecting the correct answer in the lower group, and the D here is the number of students in the lower or upper group. So consider the higher number in case the sizes in upper group and lower group are not equal, meaning if the number of lower group and upper group is not equal, so we need to follow the number that is higher. Example, if the upper group has a high number, so we need to follow lower group instead of the upper group. Now we need to also know on how to the interpretation of difficulty and discrimination indices. So this table provides you how to evaluate the status of the analysis of the test item. So if the difficulty index is acceptable and the discrimination index also acceptable, it has a good remarks and it should be retained. Now if the difficulty index is acceptable but the discrimination index is not acceptable, so the remarks is fair, and the action for this is we need to revise or improve the item. Now if the difficulty index of that item is not acceptable and the discrimination index of that item is acceptable, so the remarks for this is fair, and the action to do is to revise and improve the test item. The same with the second one. And if the difficulty index and the discrimination index are not acceptable, meaning it is a poor item and it should be rejected or discarded. Now let us proceed to the steps in item analysis. Now in doing the item analysis, it has 7 steps. The first one is to arrange the scores from highest to lowest. So we need first to arrange the score from highest to lowest. The second step is to separate the scores into the upper group and lower group. And if a class consists of 30 students or below who took the exam, divide them into 2 groups. The first half comprise the upper group and the other half is the lower group. Now, if the students are more than 30, like for example, 30, 40, 50, so we need to get the 27% of the top and the 27% of the lowest and name them as upper group and lower group respectively. The third step is count the number of those who chose the alternatives in the upper group and lower group for each item and record the information using this template. So we need to use this template. Now if the correct answer of that item is letter B, then you need to put asterisk for the correct answer. So if the correct answer is letter C, then you need to put the correct or the asterisk for the correct answer. So the fourth step is compute the index of difficulty for each item, then describe the level of difficulty as very easy, average, difficult, or very difficult, then indicate whether it is acceptable or not. So this is the time that we need to use the given formula in solving the difficulty index of each item. And we also need to identify or describe the level of difficulty of that item based on the answer or the answer of the difficulty index. Now let's proceed to step number 5. Compute the index of discrimination for each item, then describe its power to discriminate, then indicate whether it is acceptable or not. So it is the same with step number 4, wherein we need to use again the given formula in solving the discrimination index, and also we need to describe the power to discriminate, and we need also to indicate whether it is acceptable or not. Now for step number 6, interpret the results of whether the item is good, fair, or poor. So this is the time that you were able to interpret the result of the item, if it's good, fair, or poor. And for the last step is indicate the necessary action if it is to be retained, revised, or rejected. So that is the time that we are going to conclude our answer. So this is the time that we need to create or give our action for that item, if it is retained, revised, or rejected. So that are the 7 steps in doing item analysis. Okay, now we also need to analyze the destructor being used. When we say destructor analysis, it determines differences in how the students in the upper group respond to the destructors in a multiple choice item compared to how the students in the lower group do it. It can also provide an index of plausibility of the alternatives, that is, if they are function as good destructors. Destructors not chosen at all, especially by the two groups of students, need to be revised to increase their attractiveness. Meaning that if destructor D, or example, destructor D has the student does not choose, the student from the upper group and from the lower group does not choose destructor D, then we need to revise that destructor so that it will become attractive to both groups. Now let us proceed to improving test items. So in this discussion, we are going to apply the different steps in doing the item analysis. So this is the time that we're able to use the difficulty index, the discrimination index, and analyzing the discrimination index, the difficulty index, as well as the destructor. Okay, so for example number 1, let's have example number 1. There are 30 students in a class took their preliminary examination in assessment in Learning 1. Professor De Guzman wants to improve further the items for next year's utilization. So based from the given data on the table, what should he do? So let us expect that or assume that the correct answer for this item is letter B. Now, in the given data, we need to find the difficulty index, discrimination index, and analyze this item. So the first step we need to do is to compute the difficulty index. Now in computing the difficulty index, we need to use this formula. So this formula, we need to use this one. Okay, we need to use this formula. D sub f is equal to lowercase n divided by n. So in the given data, there are 10 students from the upper group answer the correct answer. So let us put here 10 plus 6, because there are 10 students from the upper group answer letter B, and there are 6 students from the lower group answer the item correctly, and we need to divide it from 30 because there are 30 students took the examination. So now let us do the mathematical operation. So 10 plus 16, 10 plus 6 is equal to 16 divided by 30. So the answer is 0.53. So after computing the difficulty index, we need to know the level of difficulty of this item. So 0.53 is belong to, or the difficulty index or the level of difficulty of 0.53 is average. So meaning it is acceptable. Okay, next we need to compute the discrimination index of that item. So again, using the formula given in the previous discussion, we need to use the formula D sub 1 is equal to CUG minus CLG divided by D. So we need to get the number of students from the upper group who answer the item correctly. So in the upper group, there are 10 students, and for the lower group, there are 6 students. So 10 divided by 6 over 30. So there are 30 students who took the examination, and let us divide it with 2 so that we were able to get the number of students from either upper or lower group. So let us do the mathematical operation. So 10 minus 6 is 4, and 30 divided by 2 is 15. So we need to divide 4 from 15. So 4 divided by 15, so the answer is 0.27. Now after computing the discrimination index, we need to know or identify or determine the level of discrimination of this item. So the level discrimination of 0.27 is low discriminating power, and it is acceptable. So this is how we solve the discrimination index, or this is the discrimination index of this example 1. Now after solving the difficulty index as well as the discrimination index, it is the time to proceed for the another step, which is to analyze the level of difficulty, discrimination index, and distractor. Now, there are 53% of the examinees got the correct answer. So the item is average or moderately difficult. For letter B, there are more students from the upper group got the answer correctly. Hence, it has positive discrimination. So remember, it is positive discrimination once the upper group got the high score. So it is called positive discrimination. For letter D, we need to retain options A, C, and E because most of the students who did not perform well in the overall examination choose it. And those options attract more students from the lower group. So meaning we need to retain A, C, and E because most of the students from the lower group chose it as their answer. Okay, for the last one is to the conclusion. So we need to retain the item or the test item but change option D to make it more realistic so that it becomes attractive for the upper and the lower group. So we need to retain the item the item but change option D because there are no students from both group choose this option. So it is necessary to change the option D and to make it more attractive to both groups. Now let's proceed to example number 2. So a class is composed of 50 students. So since there are 50 students in the class, so we need to get that 27% of the upper and the lower group. So in getting the 27% of the students, so we need to multiply 50 from 0.27. So the answer for that is 13.5, and we need to round off 13.5, so it becomes 14. It becomes 14, or the answer, or the 27% of 50 students in a class is 14. So even if it's not 13.5, it is 13.4, 13.3, 13.1. So we need to round up it because we are referring to a person. We are not referring to a money. So it's necessary to round up the answer or the answer in getting that 27% of the students. Now, in the given data, the correct answer there is letter D. So, you are observed that from letter A, upper group, there are students from the upper group answer 1, in lower group 5, for B 1, 0, for C 2 and 4, for D 8 and 4, and for E 2 and 1. So the first thing that we need to do is to compute the difficulty index of that item. So again, using again the formula, which is the D sub F is equal to lowercase n divided by the uppercase n. So we need to put the value of n there. So the correct answer is letter D, and the upper group chose, there are 8 students from the upper group choose the correct answer, and there are 4 students from the lower group choose D as their answer. So there are 8 plus 4, so there are 12 students from the upper and lower group answer the correct item, and there are also 28 students from both lower and upper group. So we need to divide 12 to 28. So 12 divided by 28, the answer is 0.43. So after solving or getting the difficulty index, we need to determine its level of difficulty. So the level difficulty of 0.43 is average, and it is acceptable. Now let's proceed to computing the discrimination index of that item. So in solving difficulty index of that item, we need to again use the formula. D sub I is equal to CUG minus CLG divided by D. So there are 8 students from the upper group choose correct answer, and there are also 4 from the lower group divided by 28 divided by 2. So we need to do the mathematical operation. So 8 minus 4 is 4, and 28 divided by 2 is 14. So 4 divided by 14, so the answer is 0.29. Now after getting the discrimination index, it is the time to know its level of discrimination. So the level of discrimination of this item, or the 0.29, is low discriminating power, and it is acceptable. So that is how we solve or compute the discrimination index and determine the level of discrimination of the item. Now we need to analyze the level of difficulty, the discrimination index, as well as the destructors. So in the given data, there are 43% of the examinees got the answer correctly. Hence, the item is average or moderately difficult. And for letter B, more students from the upper group got the answer correctly. Hence, it has positive discrimination. It is positive discrimination because there are more students from the upper group choose the answer correctly. And we need to retain options A and C because most of the students who did not perform well in the overall examination selected it as their answer. Hence, these options are effective destructors. So we need to retain option A and C because most of the students from the upper group answer that options. And for letter D, we need to modify options B and E because more students from the upper group chose them compared with the lower group. Hence, they are not effective destructor because most of the upper group chose them as their answer. So we need to modify options B and E as there are students from the upper group answer it compared to the lower group, and they are not effective distractor. Now for the conclusion of this problem or this example number 2, we need to revise the item by modifying the options B and E. So there is a revision through modifying options B and E, because in that options there are, or majority of the upper group chose it as their answer compared to the lower group. So that is how we solve or do the item analysis of the item. So do you have any question on how to solve? Anyone? Okay, none so far. So since you don't have any question, so let's proceed for the activity. Okay, for your activity, you just write it on a piece of paper. Any paper will do. So you need to do the following: compute difficulty index and discrimination index, analyze the level of difficulty, discrimination index in the destructors, and C, provide a conclusion. So on when you just need to do the item analysis of this given data. So in the given data, the correct answer is letter A, and you just first compute the difficulty and the discrimination index, analyze the level of difficulty, discrimination index in the destructor, and provide your conclusion for this another example. So you are only given 5 minutes, I mean 10 minutes to answer this activity. Then after you answer that activity, I need one volunteer to present his or her answer in the class. Okay, understood? Okay, so your time start now. Okay, you only have 2 minutes to finalize your answer. Right after the volunteer will present his or her answer in the class. Okay, 1 minute left. Okay, time's up. Time's up. Okay, who would like to volunteer? Okay, thank you very much, Miss Mr. Inkoy, for volunteer for your being one of the volunteer to present your answer in the class. Okay, let's listen Mr. Inkoy as he present his answer in the class. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Inkoy, for sharing your answer in the class. Okay, based on the answer of Mr. Inkoy, who had the same answer with him. Okay, how about different answer? Okay, none so far. So that means that you are able to do the item or solve to solve the difficulty index as well as the discrimination index, and you are now able to analyze the level of difficulty, discrimination index in the distractor, and you're able to provide a conclusion. Now since we are already done for your activity, and all of you had answer the activity correctly, so I just want to ask anybody that would like to sum up the discussion this session. Okay, who would like to sum up or generalize our topic for today? Okay, anyone? Excuse me. Okay, anyone? Yes, Mr. Igagamaw. Okay. Okay, that's right. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Igagamo, for summing up our discussion for today, which is the analyzing the test item. The test item, the item analysis has two types, which are the qualitative and the quantitative analysis. And in quantitative analysis, there are three types. The first one is the two rather. We have the difficulty index and the discrimination index. Okay, thank you very much for summing up, Mr. Igagamo. And now, since we are done with our discussion for today, it is the time to check your understanding on what we have discussed this evening. So for your assessment, I have already uploaded or sent the activity on our FB page. So you need to visit our FB page. Okay. Okay, I have already posted here the assessment. Okay, for your assessment, you need to choose the correct answer. It is a multiple choice and it composed of 10 item quiz. Okay, you are only given 10 minutes to answer the quiz. Okay, your time start now. Okay, you only have 2 minutes to finalize your answer. Okay, there are 6 students who are done answering the quiz. Okay, 1 minute left. Okay, time's up. Submit your quiz right now, and later on I'm going to check that and I will give your score right after the discussion. Okay. Okay, thank you. You are I have already seen there that the student or all of you had already submitted your quiz. Okay. Now for your assignment, I will be posting your assignment on our FB page, and you need to visit our FB page so that you're able to know what we'll do, because I will going to post there the instructions about your assignment as well as the deadline of your assignment. So you need to visit our FB page later, right after our class. Okay, understood? Okay, any question, clarification? Okay, none so far. So this end our discussion, and I hope that you've learned and understand our topic for today, which is the analyzing the test item. Okay, goodbye class. Okay, goodbye. You may now leave. Okay, thank you very much.